All right, so let's talk about the future of solar energy. And I don't just mean, the usual stuff about rooftop panels. We're going deep on this one, like how plummeting costs could actually reshape, well, everything. Yeah, that's what today's deep dive is all about. We're looking at this source, the dawn of the solar age. And let me tell you, this isn't just for the techies out there. This source connects the price of solar to some, well, really big ideas. Stuff that seems kind of sci-fi, to be honest. Like, for example, have you ever heard of the SIBA curve? Okay, maybe not the most exciting name, I'll grant you that. But just picture this. Get a graph, right? But instead of some gentle upward slope, it's like a free fall. That's how drastically solar and battery costs are dropping. We're talking about solar panel costs that were over $76 per watt back in the 70s. $76. And today, less than $1.50. And get this, projections show they could be less than 50 cents by 2030.
It's incredible, isn't it? And it's not just the panels themselves. Battery technology, which is, crucial for storing all that solar energy, that's seen costs plummet almost 90% in just the last decade.
90%.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so break it down for us. What does that kind of price drop actually mean in the real world?
Well, think about it this way. We could be looking at near free electricity in the coming years. I mean, the source compares solar to other sources like wind and nuclear, and it's not even close. Wind power, while getting cheaper, yeah, it's not seeing this kind of dramatic decline. And nuclear, well, let's just say it's got its own set of challenges, right? Costs, safety concerns, the whole shebang. Solar, especially when you factor in these increasingly affordable batteries, it's on a completely different trajectory. It's poised to become the most economical energy source, period.
Okay, so we've got this like tidal wave of cheap solar energy about to hit. What I find fascinating is how this impacts, well, everything else. Cheap energy doesn't just mean lower bills, right?
Exactly. The ripple effects are huge. Take manufacturing, for example. Imagine the cost of producing everything, cars, clothes, you name it, plummeting as factories switch to this virtually free, readily available solar power. And it's not just about cost savings either. Think about the environmental impact.
And I mean, those cheaper production costs, they have to mean lower prices for us, the consumers, too, right? But one thing I hear a lot is, what about the land needed for all these solar farms?
Yeah, that's a common concern, but the source actually addresses this head on. They use Europe as an example. Imagine this. They could potentially power that entire continent using an area roughly the size of Belgium. Now, that might sound like a lot, right? But it actually highlights how much energy we can generate with solar. Plus, we can't forget about rooftop solar panels, especially in cities and densely populated areas. We're talking about utilizing space that already exists, not necessarily needing these sprawling solar farms that some people imagine.
So this isn't just about like swapping out a coal plant for a solar farm. This is a complete transformation of how we power our world.
Absolutely. And it goes way beyond just the economics, too.
Right. This has huge implications for climate change. Less reliance on fossil fuels, cleaner air, a healthier planet. That's got to be something you're interested in. But where things get really interesting is how this connects to some even bigger ideas, ideas that honestly seem ripped straight from science fiction.
It's true. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
And to understand that connection, we need to talk about, well, Elon Musk and something called the Kardashev Scale. I got to admit, the first time I heard about this, I thought it was some made-up ranking system from Star Trek or something.
Yeah.
But it's actually a real concept.
Yeah.
So can you break this down for us? What exactly is the Kardashev Scale?
Sure. The Kardashev scale, it's basically a way to measure a civilization's technological advancement, and it's all based on how much energy they can harness. Think of it like levels in a video game.
Okay, I like that analogy. So what kind of levels are we talking about here?
Well, a Type A civilization, that's the first level. They've figured out how to capture and use all the energy that reaches their planet from their star. Basically, they've become masters of solar power, but on a scale we can barely even imagine right now.
Wow. So not just putting up a few solar panels here and there. They've gone full on solar.
Oh yeah, they're capturing the full potential of their star.
Incredible. Okay, what about the next level up?
A Type 2 civilization. Now those guys, they're next level. They can harness the energy of their entire star, not just the little bit that reaches their planet. Imagine that kind of power.
Okay, now that's just showing off. So where do we, like humanity, where do we fall on this scale right now?
Well, according to the source, we're currently hanging out around Type 0.73.
0.73. So not even a full type I yet.
Not even close. We're still heavily reliant on fossil fuels. It's like trying to power a spaceship with a campfire.
Yeah, not a great look for us.
Okay.
But this is where it all circles back to cheap solar, right?
Exactly. And Musk's point is that this plummeting cost of solar energy, it's not just about saving a few bucks on our electricity bills. It's about taking that crucial step towards becoming a Type I civilization, a species that can fully utilize the immense and frankly almost unimaginable power of the sun.
So instead of relying on dirty, limited resources like fossil fuels, we're talking about a future where we're swimming in clean, sustainable energy. And that leap to a Type I civilization, that's what's really going to blow the doors off everything, isn't it?
It really is. It's a future where energy scarcity, which has been such a limiting factor for us throughout, well, all of human history, it's no longer an issue. And that opens up possibilities that are, well, honestly, almost impossible to comprehend right now.
It's like we're standing on the edge of this whole new era, and solar energy, that's the key.
It truly is an exciting time to be alive, and it's not just about the tech itself, but what we choose to do with it.
Right. Abundant, affordable energy could change everything. Reshape industries, revolutionize transportation, even fundamentally change the way we live our lives. I mean, it's exciting, right? But it also kind of makes you think, what if we screw it all up somehow?
Well, there are definitely some big what-ifs on the table.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about, like, the Terminator showing up because we got too many solar panels or something.
Right, although that would make for a good deep dive, wouldn't it?
Huh. Maybe next time. But seriously, what about some of the unintended consequences of all this? We've talked about the economics, the potential job shifts, things like that. But what about the impact on, like, global security? I mean, this has got to change things, right?
That's a huge point, and the source gets into this a bit. Think about it. Right now, so much of geopolitics, it all comes back to energy, right? Who has it? Who needs it? Countries go to war over oil. Alliances are formed and broken based on energy needs. It's a big deal.
It's a really big deal. But if solar energy really does become this, like, universally abundant thing, that changes the whole game.
Right. It could mean more stability, less conflict over those scarce resources.
Right. Less fighting over oil, everyone's got sunshine. Sounds pretty utopian.
It does, doesn't it? But like with any big change, there's always the flip side, those potential downsides we got to consider.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? What kind of curveballs could this throw at us?
Well, think about it. This transition to let's call it a solar age, it's not going to happen overnight, right? And during that transition, things could get a little messy. Countries that control the key technologies, like manufacturing of solar panels, or maybe even more importantly, the energy storage solutions, those guys are going to have a lot of power.
So instead of fighting over oil fields, we're going to be fighting over solar panel factories and, lithium mines for the batteries. Just a new flavor of the same old resource battles.
It's definitely something to think about. And then there's the whole cybersecurity angle. As our energy grids get more, shall we say, digital, more interconnected, they become vulnerable in a whole new way. Imagine a cyber attack that could cripple a country's energy grid. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, that's not a good thought. So we're trading one set of security concerns for a whole new batch.
In a way, yes. But this also gives us a chance to really rethink how we approach global security as a whole. If we're serious about a sustainable, secure future, we can't just swap out one energy source for another. We need to address the root causes of conflict.
So this isn't just about building more solar panels. It's about building a better world, period.
Exactly. True security, it's not just about military strength or economic dominance. It's about cooperation, sustainability, a shared vision for the future.
Powerful stuff. And that really gets to the heart of what I think this source is trying to say. It's not just about the technology, but the kind of world we want to create with it.
100%. And that's what makes these kinds of discussions so important. We need to grapple with the tough questions now so we can shape that future. A future powered by the sun, but also guided by, our better angels, I guess you could say.
It's a future worth fighting for, that's for sure. For all the what-ifs and the potential problems we've dug into, I gotta say, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about all of this.
Me too. The challenges are huge, no doubt. But so is the potential upside. And hey, if humanity can pull this off, if we can transition to a truly sustainable energy future, well, that's got to give you hope, right?
It really does. Well, that about wraps it up for this deep dive. We covered a lot of ground today, from the price of solar panels to, the fate of civilization as we know it. Hopefully you found it informative, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little inspiring. If this kind of big-picture thinking is your thing, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button. because we've got a lot more deep dives lined up for you. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing, and remember, the future is powered by, well, you.